Welcome to Sunnyside Journals. I'm Catherine. I have a flip through today of a beautiful junk journal that I created from a 110-year-old book called The British Nation. You can still see some of the title right here on the spine. This book was in pretty sad shape when I got it, but I could tell right away. Usually those books make the most interesting journals, and this one certainly didn't disappoint. I loved the color, this neutral sort of a brownish gray color, and I loved all the patina on it. I loved the splashed ink. I loved the attempts to bind it and fix it, the tape that's here and there. I love the spilled ink, the writing on it. I love that the original owner wrote their name on it, Oriel Hamilton, and that it even says $1, which was the price of the book back in 1910 when it was published. And I especially love the name of the author. Just everything about this book has character. And I had fun restoring it. And then I think making it even more beautiful. So let's do measurement first, and then I can tell you a bit more about it. So it's not quite, well, it's about 5.5 by 7.5, and it's a good size book. It's let's see here. It's about 1.5, 1 3/4, I would say. Yeah, 1 3/4, the spine. I refurbished the spine and strengthened it again, and then I put in a hidden hollow back spine. So as you can see here, this is a hidden hollow back spine. This is actually hollow down there, and the text block is suspended between the two covers. And that makes for a really nice, comfortable journal that you can write in because it spreads open nicely. And of course it looks attractive because you've saved your beautiful spine. So, and this text block that I put into it has 166 pages of varying sizes. And I think I picked some really interesting, fun pages that will add to anyone who enjoys having a unique journal to write down their thoughts or collect special things and have a place to put it. Now, what I did, because it was falling apart quite sadly, I cleaned it as best I could without disturbing the beautiful parts of the patina that I loved, and then I sealed the cover. So even though it looks a little grimy, this is in lovely condition now. And then I chose some beautiful old vintage laces and arranged them in various places on the book, and I really like how that turned out. This was off a 1970s wedding gown. These are various crochet laces from different pieces that I have. The fabric that's in here, I've got it on the back there, and it's in a few places inside, you'll see it, is an interesting upholstery fabric that I found on one of my thrifting expeditions. And it's almost like a botanical book. Here's a swatch of it, and it has different flowers, and then it has the Latin names for them. And I just loved the Latin writing on this fabric, so I had to include it. So I made a book plate out of some of the Latin writing from the fabric where these flowers came from. And I think that turned out really nice. Which also leads me, the fabric is from one of my favorite thrift stores, and it leads me to let you know that pretty well 99% of this book is from repurposed sources. So that could be a thrift store, a charity shop, an antique store, a yard sale, online sources such as Facebook Marketplace, Virage sale. Also, sometimes it just comes from friends and family who say, hey, I've got this. Do you want it? And usually I do. There's just so many beautiful things you can make out of old stuff. So in this case, as is common with my books, the thread that I use to sew with is new because I like it to be strong. The glue that I use is new. Again, I like it to be strong and I like it to be archival, so acid-free. And the inks as well, if I use distress ink, they're new. And in this case with this book, there is one little rusted bulldog clip right up here. I'll show you when we get to that page. Although it looks old, that is new. And otherwise, everything else in this book, all the papers, all the laces, all the fabrics, all the illustrations have come from a repurposed source. So that really makes for an interesting and absolutely one-of-a-kind book. You're going to find lots of journaling space in this book. Although I've had fun putting in some unique artsy things, there's lots of room, lots and lots of room for you to make this book your own. So as I open the inside, you'll see the end papers are music. And this music is actually the handwritten music from Beethoven. I have a book on Beethoven's life, and it has a lot of scans of his own handwritten music. So I used a page out of that book. And this particular piece of music is, I kept it down here so that you can know. It's the trio in B flat major, which he wrote apparently in 1812. And here you can see where he wrote 1812. So I thought that was beautiful, and I loved the colors, and I thought the colors just went beautifully with the color of this cover. I tried wherever possible to make good use of the original text block of this book, The British Nation. And this is the original front page. I love that you can see that the price was $1, and I love that it gives the year of publication 1910, which means that this old girl is 110 years old. And I think she looks pretty good now for 110. I put a fussy cut of a beautiful floral on it. And the laces are all vintage. The front lace and the back lace came actually from a table runner. Inside, you'll find a tuck spot right away, which is nice to have in a journal so that you have somewhere to put things immediately. And I used an illustration from the original text block. You're going to see lots of variety of tea-dyed papers. I do my own tea dyeing. I love these ledger papers that have the numbers up in the corner. Original page from the text block. I fortified those pages. I fortified the fold because they're 110 years old and they were feeling a little sad. And now they're feeling good. This is a page from a book that I found on one of my thrifting expeditions. It's a reprint of a 1938 map book of the streets of London, England, and I just love it. I love the colors. I love that you can read all the names of the roads, and I just think it was perfect to go into a book on the British nation. And then I've got a little tuck spot here, and again, this couple is perfect to go into a book on the British nation because they were from England. That's my gran and my granddad. And although it says June 1957, I happen to know that that picture was taken in December of 1956 because it was my grandmother's birthday. But back then, whenever you got your film developed, that's when the date went onto the side. This is a copy, so I guess this is new in a way. The real one is in with my special family photos, but I just love how they look. They're ready to go out for an evening on the town. And then there's some tea-dyed papers and such, just tucked in behind there. Hold on, in you go. There we go, thank you. So page out of the original text block. I made a tag from a page and an illustration from the original text block, and I put a fussy cut flower on it. Now it's got an eyelet in it. I'm going to be sending along some ribbons and some twine so that the new owner can choose what ribbons and twines, if any, they wish to put through the eyelets of their tags. And then I made a tuck spot. I thought this was rather timely. It says under the illustration, "Fleeing the Plague," and this is also from the original book. And I thought that was kind of timely, seeing as what we're living through right now. So anyone who's writing in this book will actually be able to write about the plague we're dealing with right now. Another tuck spot here. And I created this tuck spot actually out of a tea-dyed time card for people that used to have to fill these out when you went to work. Some places still use them. And what I did was I made it like an accordion and did some collaging on it. I left this label blank for you to put whatever you wish to put on there. And then in here, you can journal on all these spaces. I really like how that turned out. Here is another piece of that fabric I was telling you about that looks like botanicals, and I've put an eyelet with a little charm. Sometimes when I find really cool necklaces at my thrift stores, I'll take them apart and make charms out of the beads. So this is one of those. A page out of The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady, Edith Holden's book. And then there's an old vintage piece of cloth measuring tape up here. Here's another tuck spot. I've put an illustration from the original text block. This is Elizabeth of York. Apparently she was the wife of Henry VII. Here is a tag that I made from a map out of the original book, and you can journal on the back. And then this was fussy cut out of another book I have that was just on Victorian art, and I made it. I backed it onto some blank paper and cardstock so you can journal on the back. I think it's pretty. This is an original page out of the book, and I included it because I loved it. It actually has handwriting from the original owner, and I thought she showed that she's got quite a sense of humor, because it says here, "My castle," and then there's an arrow pointing to the castle, and then it says, "My room," and there's an arrow pointing to this window here. And then it says, "My child," and then there's an arrow pointing all the way down here to this little person walking along with a knapsack on a stick. And I just thought that was really charming. And I love when a book shows who the original owner was, and when you can save that into the patina of the book. And this is pencil, so if this isn't for you, you can erase it. It'll be your journal, so you do as you wish with it, but I just thought that was sweet, that little remnant of the original owner. Here's a page from a vintage car travel book that you used to keep in your glove compartment, and you'd keep track of how much gasoline you put in, what your speedometer was, or your odometer, for how long, how far you went, how many miles. They're fun, and it makes for interest, the different size of the paper. I put some tea-dyed tissue paper over, this is an original page out of the book, to show you how you can create more journaling space. And this is very easy to do, and you can do that with tissue paper or the liner of a napkin. And then I just, I added a fussy cut of a vintage picture of some flowers out of a 1950s garden book I had. Another little tuck spot. I thought that that little cottage looked like an English cottage, and it was from a book, and there were several things on the page. So these little birds were also in with this illustration, and actually the doggies were from the same page. So nothing got wasted off of that page out of that book. Some more vintage lace sewn along here. Here's some more handwriting from the original owner. This person loved history. There was handwriting throughout the book. They took Oriel Hamilton took lots of notes and obviously was very much a history lover. This is one of the original end papers out of the book. I wasn't able to save both sides. It was obviously already starting to fall apart because this person had tried to save it themselves. I was able to save one side of it, and I was able to save this gorgeous yellowed cellophane tape. So I put it inside the book. I just could not put that in. It's so gorgeous. The vintage antique appearance of that. The yellowed tape. I mean, Mother Nature and Father Time did that yellowing, and it's gorgeous. This is tea-dyed from a reproduction of a Sears Roebuck catalog. A page out of a Wildflowers book. Little tuck spot here. I used one sheet of scrapbook paper for this book. Of course, I got it from a thrift store, but I tried to make as best use out of all the pieces as I could. So I made a little tuck spot. You'll notice that it's the same as the first signature, these stripes. And then in the pocket, I made a tag out of an illustration of the architecture of the time. You can journal on the back. Here's a map of the War of the Roses, and again, it is now a journaling card. And then I added a little tea card, a vintage Brook Bond Canada tea card. And you can tell that it was obviously in somebody's collection at some point because the glue ripped off part of the back, but I think he's still very handsome. So I put him in there, and there's a fussy cut of a wildflower on there. Another little flower tag that's been sewn on, and again I put a little charm from a necklace that I took apart, and it's on there with a rusted bulb pin. Here's the clip I was telling you about. Although it looks very old, it's actually new. I rusted it using a combination of vinegar and hydrogen peroxide, and then I added some lace to it. And then I've included a few pages that were my particular favorites from the book that I ended up not making anything from. I thought you might like to do that yourself because it was getting kind of full. And I don't like to presume to take over a journal. It really should become the artwork of the new owner. So I've just included those with this really beautiful bulldog clip. And you can do as you wish with those extra pages that I'll send along with it. This is out of an old Bible. It's a page from the Book of Psalms. This is out of an old hymn book from 1921. This is one of my favorite envelopes, and I only ever had two, and this is the last one, so it's gone. These are gone. I had one other, and then this one. So what I did was I sewed it into the center of the signature. I glued it shut, and then I cut open the ends and put a little half circle. And then I made some tags out of index cards to show you what you can tuck in there. But obviously you can tuck whatever you like in there. I just love the kitty cats. It's got kitty cats on it. And I love this sort of pink, dusty pink, shell pink color. This is a map of Middlesex County in England, which is the county where London is. And this map... Where's the other side of it? This map is obviously a reproduction. I have a book of antique maps, and this map apparently was first published in 1621. So that's why you'll notice it doesn't look like London that we know now. Some antique hand-crocheted lace. There's Catherine of Aragon, and I thought I'll put her in there. She's from the original text block, but I thought, you know what? Catherine made the book, so let's put Catherine in it. A little flip out with some hand sewing on it, on some check register paper. This spread was fun to do. This is actually, this makes it truly a junk journal. This was from my mail. from my benefits plan when I got approved for my new night guard so that I don't grind my teeth. So I tea-dyed it because I loved the green, and that little window looks beautiful. I tucked in some tea-dyed paper of Contract Bridge scorecard. You can just open that up and journal on it. And then, but I also placed it so that when you take this out, you can see Elizabeth I in there in behind. And then I still had some more paper left over from that envelope, so I made a tag over here. Both sides are from the same envelope. And then this is a little tuck spot, but you can also open it up. It's a little hidden spot here, and you can journal there. And again, this tab was made out of the leftovers of this this green paper, which I just think is so pretty. Usually the insides of official envelopes are some pattern of gray, and this green just, I loved it. Here's Mary the First, and I fussy cut from a separate book this picture frame, and I put it over Mary's picture so that she'd look lovely. That's the other side of the the Middlesex County map. Just a little ruffle of some fabric sewn on there. This is a page out of Winnie the Pooh. This is from the original text block. I think it's just beautiful. This is a spread from a guest book. And what I did was I used more of that one sheet of scrapbook paper, and I made a couple of pockets, and I included these two playing cards. Now I've left them as playing cards. Sometimes I turn them into journaling cards, but I thought maybe the new owner would just like them to be playing cards. So there, as you can see, there's lots of blank tea-dyed paper that I include tucked in here and there. And if you want to, you'll be able to make these easily into journaling cards simply by gluing paper onto the back. This is all I have left. This scrapbook paper, this is all I have left of that one sheet. So it will be also going in the goodie envelope that will have some ribbons and twine in it so that you can do as you wish with it. This is from another book, an antique book I had on birds, and I have added it to the book by gluing it down here the way sometimes older books do with illustration plates. And I think that turned out nice. And there's actually more room for journaling on the back of it, so that worked out nicely. Another little tuck spot here with a bookmark that I made out of the illustration of Joan of Arc from the book. You can journal on the back. A Victorian calling card. I cut it out of a book that I have on Victorian artwork, and you can journal on the back. And then this is also a little hidden journaling spot because you can lift up the top there, open it up, and there's space there for journaling. So it's a pocket and it's a journaling spot. Here's a little tuck spot with just a little child at the beach. I just thought it was pretty. And then this is from the original text block. I loved it because it says bookcase with chained books. And I just thought how I would love to get my hands on all those books right now. And then just some journaling paper. I like to tuck them in where I can. Another picture out of that botanical book that's so pretty. This is a page spread out of Anne of Green Gables, and it's tea-dyed. This is out of a bird book, a Peterson bird book. A tab from the beloved scrapbook paper page. I love the insides of these cathedrals. So beautiful. That's the Gloucester Cathedral. Apparently it was built around 1355, it says. This is the other end paper that I was able to save out of the original book and save it along with the original cellophane tape, which I just think is so gorgeous. And then there's a gentleman over here enjoying a pint. And you know what? That's nice too. Little tuck spot here. This is from the original book. I just thought it was so pretty with the castle up on the rocks. And then I made a journaling card out of another map of England at the time of 1643. On the back here is another tuck spot from the from that scrapbook paper. I made a tag and I added an illustration of a knight suit of armor and a fussy cut flower on there, and you can journal on the back. And again, I've left the eyelet empty, so you'll be able to put whatever ribbon or twine you want to put in there. And then, as ever, I include a photo strip bookmark of the two Nanas that always go into all of my journals. So that's going in there too. There's a little rusty pin up here with a few little beads on it. And of course, here's the other side of that piece of music that's in the handwriting of Beethoven. So this book just turned out so pretty. I'm just absolutely in love with it. I love the, hold on, let's get you turned around, you little charm here. I love the profile of this book. There we go. I just think that turned out beautiful. All these little charms hanging off, and the laces, and the threads. I just think it all came together. And for a sad little book that was going for the trash heap practically, I think it's got a beautiful new life ahead of it. So thank you for watching. This book will be available for sale in my Etsy shop. So if you're interested in it, I hope you'll go over and take a look. I'll put the link down below. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care. We'll talk soon. Bye.